Swimming Pool International, the Swimming Pool Podcast.
A warm welcome to our International Swimming Pool Podcast. In front of me sits Angela Hermann, International Export Manager at Benke Manufacturing in Germany.
And in front of me sits Michael Fisser, Export Manager at Fluvo Schmalenberger from Tübingen in Germany. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Angela. It has been a while since I've met you, and I hope everything goes well.
Everything is good. Sun is coming, spring is coming. I'm in Netherlands. We are actually in the Netherlands today, and as it is my perfect little country, I saw a lot of flowers already. So spring is here around the corner. And if you believe it or not, in Spain is bad weather, so you have much better weather here than we do actually. So we are not here to talk about the weather really, because we would like to talk about pool covers.
Yes, and today we are here with Roy Peeters, General Manager of Aquadeck pool covers in Boedel in Brabant in the Netherlands. And hi, Roy. Nice to meet you.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have this topic. We haven't discussed this before, and Roy already showed us the factory, and it opened up a world for me. So
it really did, and I have to say, as it always is, if you dive into a topic and you really learn about it, then it becomes interesting, no? And I think this visit was actually an eye-opener for what is possible today, also in automation and all these things. And yeah, very, very nice company, we have to say. And it leads me to the first question. We don't start with where we are now, where we are very modern at the moment, but where did it all start? How did it start? And the idea of pool covers.
Yes, Aquadeck was founded in 1999, so you just missed our 25th anniversary. 27 years ago, Mr. Gerard Velings, who used to work for Starline Pool Covers, decided to begin his own company in pool covers. In the beginning, that was from the garage to help out some customers he knew, but quite soon it grew and it became like a really good business for him. And in the 15 years that followed, Aquadeck grew until I would say more or less 1,000 covers production per year. Interesting side effect is in this 15 years that Aquadeck was also the first company who used a tubular motor, where in the past it always was equipped with external motors. So the tubular motor, which is really, really common now, I would say 90% of all the pool covers, has been founded or at least used by Aquadeck for the first time. Then 15 years later, in 2016, Aquadeck was acquired by the Polycarbonate Group, and a big difference then was that Aquadeck used to sell directly to pool builders, but after the acquisition of the Polycarbonate Group, they decided to stop that and to work exclusively for distribution companies. A few of them were already part of the Polycarbonate Group, so you could say Aquadeck started to sell to sister companies. But also direct customers in Europe was also a big part of the business. But it also meant that being part of the group, automatically big customers came more or less for free to Aquadeck. And that means that the growth was quite significantly between 2016 and 2021. Because a bit later in 2019 also Pomos for the Netherlands came in, and in that means that two of the biggest distribution companies in the Benelux were customer of Aquadeck, being part of the Polycarbonate Group. The result was that in 21 until now, the volume we do here in the factory is more than 4,000 pool covers per year. And that was also a big challenge because then we saw that a lot of things got complicated. We didn't have enough production capacity. We didn't have enough space for production, also not for the warehouse. And also maybe the culture of Aquadeck was not professional enough to deal with this growth. In 2021, when I started to work for Aquadeck, my first job was more or less to solve these operational problems. The few results we did in the last few years, we first bought a company or a new building for new production capacity. We did some rebuilding, connected a few buildings, and then we bought a few, I would say, high-tech machines to be able to do automatic production. And on top of that, last year, we migrated to a new software system and a new tailor-made product configurator. And this has all been done now. And it means we are now completely ready for growth, for expansion and sales. And we want and we will grow on a local market, but also in all countries in Europe. We can deal with this growth now because we are the most modern automatic pool cover manufacturer, and therefore we produce and deliver extremely fast. You've seen the factory. I told you a few times after the confirmation of the pool builder saying, this is the product I would like to have. Actually, sometimes in 10 minutes later, we can already start producing. And in 12 minutes, most of the covers are ready. However, our target is not to immediately to grow or to be the biggest. I always say we want to be the best. And when we are the best, I think that growth will be a logical result. And another aspect which is important to say is that due to the high level of automation, the complete process between order and invoice is very efficient, and we also take out human failures. As you can see in our product configurator, but also in our machines, we have a lot of cameras and vision systems to check every single detail to make sure that when the production is finished, the product is right and with the highest quality. To make sure that everything goes well, we also have that also all the data, like the cutting sizes, are automatically transferred from the order tool to the machines. And I think that's important for our customers, because what they want is when they have the pool cover in 10 days or 2 weeks somewhere in Europe, and they send out their installation team to do the installation, you don't want to arrive in a situation that something's not correct and that they have to stop or they need to take back the installation team with a lot of cost and time loss. Since we are a seasonal business, we don't want to lose time. So we are really focused on doing everything perfectly. Well, and that's where we are today. So that's in 5 minutes the history of Aquadeck.
Yeah, it was a very, very nice overview. And I would like to come back to 1999 again. To the garage. Because you said, okay, you're really a company who started from the scratch in the garage. So what was 20, as you said, now it's 27 years ago. The idea, okay, we have pools. What was his idea? Okay, now I need a cover.
No, because Gerard Velings and also his son Dennis, who is still working here, had experience with pool covers, but they first said, okay, let's keep this business but also do something else. But then after leaving Starline and starting Aquadeck, they found out that immediately they got quite a few customers, and then after 1 month of thinking about how the future should look like, they decided let's do it and just try to make a company and not work for a different company anymore. So that was the beginning. But in the garage with 2 people, you can with 25 pool covers per year or maybe 50, you can already be profitable. But then the growth was much quicker than they expected, and then they needed to go to second spot somewhere in a different village, and then a few years later they started to build the building where we are today.
Well, and that for our listeners, maybe perhaps you can explain why people need pool covers anyway?
Good question. And there's a very logical answer, because when you want to keep heat in water or another liquid, you want to avoid evaporation, and that's what you do with putting a cover on it, and that saves about 70%, so 70% of the evaporation, because evaporation takes out the heat. So that's what you want to avoid. So when you add a pool cover on your pool, you immediately save a lot of energy, but also, of course, water loss, because evaporation also consumes water. And a third reason for slatted covers, as we make, where we do not make foam covers, we only do slat covers,
right,
is that you can have a solar function within the slat, and that also has a third then functionality, because then you have free heating of your pool, because the heat is being transferred from the slat into the water.
Yes.
So I would say heat loss, but also winning extra heat by using solar slats.
Yeah, and this actually also sort of answers the question, can you explain how an automatic pool slat cover works in the sense of heating, but how does the system work?
Okay. Yeah, because we just already talked, you need something to put on the water. So you need to have something which floats.
Exactly.
And we all know that air has a very high insulation value.
Yeah.
So then you come already to what products float, where you can put air, like locked, and therefore plastic profiles already are part of a cover for 25 years, more or less.
Okay.
So this is what we do, and the material we use is PVC or polycarbonate, as we call PC. So PVC and PC.
Right.
These are the two plastics we use all over Europe and all over the world, actually, to put this cover on a pool, because they float, and you can make them in profiles, so therefore you can also roll them up or off.
Yeah.
Then, of course, you need to move the cover, because then you have the plastic profiles on your pool floating, but you need to open and close the pool cover. So therefore, you need to find a system which makes that happen. And therefore, we use a tube, stainless steel or aluminium. We only use stainless steel 316, the highest quality stainless steel. These are also made exactly tailor-made for the pool, where also the slats go onto, of course. And then you have something to roll up or roll down the slats on this tube. But of course, to do that in a automatically way, you need to have a motor, or you would need to have a drive to make that movement of the tube. And therefore, we used to use external motors, but in the last 20 years, all markets have stepped over to tubular motors. So we build in a tubular motor in the stainless steel tube, and that makes it already possible to motorize it. And then the last part is, of course, to control it. And then you can do that with a control box, with a remote control, or an app on your phone, or a key switch to say open or close or stop in between. So that's more or less how this all works. And the last part is that we want to hide then mostly the tube and the roll of the cover. So then we make constructions to make, for example, a corner cover, or a protective plate, as we call it, or a lounger, or a niche behind the pool. So the pool owner can decide what they prefer. Under the floor, on top of the terrace, behind the pool, all these things are possible, and we make tailor-made prefabricated packages for that.
And the last technical question in that sense, you were talking about PVC and PC. What is the main difference or its application?
There's a big difference in the quality of the material. Polycarbonate is much stronger, and it is less sensitive, for example, for hail. So in countries where you have mountains, you have more hail storms. So this is very important, because when you have a PVC cover, the hailstones go immediately through the PVC slats. With polycarbonate, not. So with PVC slats, the hail resistance is much higher. And we also have normation for that. So we use hail norms to be able to sell slats in those countries like Switzerland, Austria, and part of Germany, because then the insurance also covers that you can get a new cover when it's affected by a hailstorm. A second big difference is the limit of the burning degree. So PVC easily burns. So where the sun is very strong, south of Europe, PVC is very sensitive. And PC, polycarbonate, has a burning degree of more than 100 degrees. So when you put it in the sun on top of the roof, even when there's no cooling from the water surface, there's no explanation. Therefore, the lifespan of polycarbonate is 10 years and longer, and PVC is much shorter. So in the end, a polycarbonate, although the price is much higher, you save money.
Yeah, I was going to say that, there's actually no reason to choose PVC other than price.
In those markets where PVC is still popular, which is mainly in France, it is just a price-driven thing for the investment. But on long term, you're completely right, PVC will always be better.
How long does it last then?
Well, for example, Aquadeck, and we are a bit unique, we give 5 years of warranty on the complete cover, so the stainless steel part, but also the motor and also the slats. But for polycarbonate, this material is more or less 10 to 15 years on the market, and the lifespan or life expectation is more than 10 years or more than 15 years. But it's always also a matter, how good does the pool owner maintain the pool? How good is the water quality? Because it can happen that the slats still work, but do not look that nice anymore, especially with PVC, but it's also a matter of maintaining the pool. And then sometimes people say it's still nice, but I still prefer new slats after 10 or 12 or 15 years.
Right. Interesting, really.
Yeah.
And being so long in the pool business, I didn't know all these details about pool
and I
covers.
didn't know that hail is so important.
No.
I haven't seen hail for years.
Well,
so
it's always a little joke that when we see on the weather forecast that there's a hailstorm coming up, that we would like to inform all pool owners, close your cover, because we are always happy with hailstorms,
Yes.
as you can imagine, and especially also the pool builder. But that's off the record.
yeah. Yeah, wow. I mean, I do remember the last big hailstorm I lived in America, and this was really more than golf balls, no? They were really big.
But you can imagine that sometimes when there's a local hailstorm and it's a specific spot in a village or a few villages, sometimes that's like 100 orders for a pool builder.
Yeah.
They have to replace 100 pool covers, like additional business for them. Replacement of covers which are affected by a hailstorm is good for the business. The insurance normally takes care of that. But this is, in time, there's more and more limitations. For example, in those countries where it hails a bit more, and therefore you get this requested hail normation of the slats, which we have to comply to.
I have to ask now, since we do talk about weather, because we had a very severe, it's really severe storm, so how does wind, I'm not talking about a normal wind, I'm talking about real,
Mm-hmm.
How does it affect covers? Does it affect covers as well?
Yes, it can. Normally, when you have a skimmer pool, of course, the water level is under the terrace surface, and then it's more or less protected. But still the wind can go under it. With an overflow pool, it's even more important, and therefore we have, as we call them, overflow pendle set, which means a stainless steel little. It's a stainless steel little part which makes sure that, for example, the pool cover does not flow off in the direction of the overflow channel. However, there's also possibilities that people say according to the weather forecast or the wind, that automatically the pool cover, for example, opens. That's also possible. There's a few systems who work with that. But under normal conditions, it could happen, but it's very, very rare. But with big storms, I think you also need to take care about your parasol. And then people might also think, oh, let's also protect the pool cover a bit and open it. But it's very rare.
Yeah, but weather now changes, no? So I come to a next question about a little bit about design. You know, people have nowadays, since let's say almost everything is possible, no, in design world. You know, how does it influence your, you know, the pool covers and the material you take, the slats?
Well, that's a challenge for us, because you have just walked in the factory and you saw also the stock of all the different designs and colors we have when it is about the slat. Because for the pool owner, the slat is the only thing he sees. The rest is more or less hidden. So the only thing for the pool owner which is important is, how does my pool look like when the pool cover is closed? And in the past there was gray and white and light blue and PVC. But when you look at what we have today, and it's also because many pool owners work together with an architect or with a garden company, and they specifically look at each detail. And when it's a pool within a grass field, then you have other choices than when it's like in a gray concrete look and everything what is between. So we look at what the market requires, and the second thing we look is it economically for us interesting, because, you know, you cannot buy profiles or slats to make one cover per year for a specific color. So we also need to look at trends, and we think this is a good color for us. And we now have 10 different colors. But when you look at how it looks like, I would say for every pool today, if your terrace is wood or concrete or terracotta, or you have what I said, a grass field, we have solutions for everything. So I think now every pool owner will find something he really likes in his specific garden.
You said trends. So what is like? Yeah, what is going on in the cover in the cover business, innovations? So what is?
Yes, well, the slats is the first one, what we just discussed, and that makes sense. But we also see a bit trend of moving from PVC to PC. In each country, so people are more willing to invest in a more expensive slatted cover because of the durability, but also because the choices of colors and design are better with are bigger with polycarbonate. And other trends we see is mainly about controlling, so operating, opening and closing the pool. In the past, it used to be a simple control box, or a simple control box which was connected to a pool management system. Nowadays, people want at least to have an app, not only to control the opening and closing of the pool, but for example also to program the beginning and the end position of the pool. We have a control box for that, and an app that the pool installer can use this app to do the programmation, but also, for example, to change the turning of the motor to both directions. In the past, you needed then to change the cables. Now we have a device that you can just change that with your app. And also to have more protection, our controller measures the amperage the pool cover needs when it opens and closes, and therefore you can set your own limit. For example, when it's 5 ampere, you can put your limit on 7, and you know when there's something in your pool like a toy, then immediately it measures more amperage and it says stop before things break down. So it's more like intelligence thing, which is a thing. And for the pool owner also, you know, to combine it with your house automation and also your level control, because you want to avoid when your water level is too low, you don't want to open or close your pool cover. It can really damage your pool. So also a combination with water level sensor And the possibility of opening or closing the pool cover is something which we have today and which is more and more popular.
Yes. Like we see all over the pool business, everything gets automated, whether it's countercurrents, whether it's pool covers, lights, water treatment. It all goes into that direction.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you said safety, I think this is also a very big, very big issue with a pool cover, actually.
One thing we discussed earlier about the energy savings. Energy savings being, in general, in life at the moment, a very big topic. And is this really, how should I say this? In the real world, are there working with or without a pool cover? Is there any data that says, well, if you have a pool cover, you save an X amount of money per year or so? Or is that not the way it's done?
Well, it is, but it has many factors which are which how do you say which have impact on your consumption of or energy. Like I told you, the first thing is that when you put your pool cover, you have about 70% of energy saving. So you can say 70% cost saving on heating. However, when you have 70%.
Okay.
But when you have solar panels on your roof and you use a heat pump, which is of course then electronically you get the energy from your solar panels.
Right.
You can say, okay, but my energy saving, I have free heating because I have solar panels on the roof. So in that case, your money saving in real life is not that big.
Right.
However, everybody knows that when you put heat in your pool, you don't want to lose it again, because then the next day you have to do it all over again.
Exactly.
So therefore we stick to the rule that you save around 70% on energy cost, heating cost. But in some countries it's still gas heating, in other countries it's a heat pump. So it depends on the circumstance, and it also depends on the direction of the wind. So your direct environment in your garden. But what we tested, it's maybe nice to say also, is that the efficiency of the solar slats we tested last year in real life, because all our PC slats have solar functionality. However, it's not the same. So we put all our different solar slats in a real pool for 4 months and measured every day to see what heat came in and next morning how much got out. And then you see how quick does it bring in heat, because the weather conditions are exactly the same, only the slat is different, and then you can see a difference. And in our new leaflet, we also communicate this, so you can see within all the range of our solar slats how solar efficient they are. And the main rule is the more transparent they are on the top, the better the sunlight goes through the slat to arrive on the bottom black part, and the bottom black part gets hotter and transfers the heat to the pool water. So the rule is, of course, to arrive on that. But people want different colors, and you have to have color, and then it makes it less transparent, and then it's less efficient, but still it has a solar function. You still have free heat.
So the transparent in this case is actually the best.
Transparent is the best.
For the solar one.
For the solar one. But transparent also has another side effect, because transparent is very sensitive, and after a few years it gets less transparent and then the efficiency goes down. So transparent slats you mostly use for indoor pools, and for outdoor pools you use a kind of a color which is still transparent. But that's the choice.
Slightly, they are quite have that color,
Yeah, exactly.
We saw some samples before.
And I can imagine that automatic pool covers also adds to certain safety with kids and so on. Is there like a limit of how many kilograms it can hold before somebody actually falls through?
Yes. First, it is very important always when the subject is safety, which is of course very important for all of us.
Yeah.
Is that we never talk with an automatic slat cover never that it's a safety cover, because it's not.
No.
But it
adds.
increases, it
Yeah.
adds safety. That's for sure, because the maximum carrying weight is 100 kilograms per square meters.
Okay. Yes.
So that means when you lay down, you can easily float. When you step over, most of the people will also survive.
I just want to say 100 should be enough, no?
Should be enough normally. So we also have videos that, for example, 4 children play soccer on the pool cover. That's just possible, because you go a little bit down, so the water goes up, but you will not sink. However, there are always circumstances that something can happen. For example, a dog or a little baby could fall into the on top of the cover and would slide down at the side, and then you cannot get out. So therefore, that should not happen. And you can add safety, for example, by mounting stainless steel grab rails on the long side of the pool. Then also the sides are protected to sink, to go down, and then it's even safer. But we always say, what is very important, even though a slatted cover increases the safetiness, you should always have a visibility on your pool when opening and closing. That's very important. When you have small children, we always say, use on top of the slatted cover maybe a safety cover, or make a fence for a few years, because safety in every family, of course, is very, very important.
Right.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's not a safety cover, but it definitely adds security.
Yeah, because most of the times when you would fall in, you just float and you can get out of the pool again.
Mistakes here we talk now about what could happen. I would like to know, when you want to have a cover, what are typical mistakes installers and owners of the pool are doing?
The mistake we see still, not often, but I would say in a percentage, maybe a few percent of mistakes we see, is still that the wrong measurement is taken by the pool builder. And this is also critical, because of course when you want to cover the pool, you don't want to take 10 centimeters at all the sides to be sure that it fits. So we always choose 30 millimeters on both sides as a maximum gap. But sometimes there's also a skimmer at the side, so you have the flange, and sometimes just people forget that the thickness of the flange, maybe on both sides, is also the size they should measure. Or they use the wrong equipment, or they route down something unreadable, and then the wrong size is put into our product configurator, and that could lead to a mistake. So that's the most common mistake still the pool builder or pool installer makes. Another mistake which we see sometimes is that the cable of the tubular motor is very delicate and very important. It should never be damaged. It's and when the cable is 10 or 15 or 20 meters long, which we offer, and they pull the cable with a lot of force between angles and hooks and stainless steel parts, sometimes this cable is damaged. And when the cable is damaged, there comes water inside of the cable, and sometimes after 1 or 2 years it arrives into the motor and the motor breaks down. But we can check it easily, and then we see it's a damaged cable, and that should not happen, but that's also then a mistake with installing we see once in a while.
And the pool owner, what would they think of when they have a pool cover? What is important? Cleaning maybe, or
yes,
maintenance. What is
very good, because also in my past I used to work for another company, and we always had this issue that pool owners who maybe spent 100,000 euro on the pool, they think that everything goes automatically and they never have to do anything. Sometimes the pool builder sells it like that. I have an automatic dosing system. You never have to check your water quality anymore. And that's a big mistake. So maintenance of stainless steel, maintenance of course the water treatment, but also the pool cover is important. And the better you do that, the easier it is. So I would say once in a while, once per year, maybe a bit more, just clean your pool cover, and that makes it a nicer product on long term. We have, however, a unique system, as we call the anti-algae system, in our pool slats, which are small holes every 20 centimeters. And these holes are made in the connecting chamber where you connect one slat to the other slat. And exactly in this connecting chamber, we have little slots or little holes, which means that every time the pool owner opens or closes the cover, the chlorinated water from the pool streams in this chamber and flushes out beginning of algae or little dirt. So it's a kind of self-cleaning system, which is quite unique, which really, really helps to avoid building of algae in our slatted cover, because the algae you really see after a while. But on top of that, good water quality and a good flow or circulation of your filtration pump is always still very important. You cannot expect that you do not anything, leave the cover even when it's 30 degrees, go on holidays for 3 months or 3 weeks, and then come back and you see, hey, now my pool does not look nice anymore. It always comes back to basic maintenance.
Yeah. I think this algae thing is a very, that you have such an advanced product there is a big advantage, no? Also,
I think so, yeah.
And why should a pool owner or a pool builder choose Aquadeck?
Our strategy or vision is always to work together with pool builders, because we consider them not as customers but as partners. We make a high-end product, and we realize that the pool cover is is a big part of the investment of the pool owner, so it should always be perfect. And you can only do that when the product is perfect, but also the installation is perfect. So you need to cooperate with people who know your product, and need to work with people who know how to install the product. This is key for us. Therefore, we do a lot of trainings to make sure that it arrives in good quality at the pool, and also be installed at the right way, so that you have maximum pleasure and long-term functionality of your pool cover. For the rest, we have some different things like fast delivery times, which is really good for the pool builder, but for the pool owner also, like we just discussed, these anti-algae concept, which helps to make sure that the cover looks nicer. And we give a lot of trainings. We educate our customers to make sure that also new products, new technologies arrive at the right spot. Because our ambition is like I told you, to be the best. Also, our slogan, "Close to be perfect,"
Yes,
is based on that, because it means it's never done. We are
always
quite
close
in the good direction,
yes,
but it's never done. You can always improve things by make it nicer, easier, cheaper. And that's what we try to do. And the second explanation is, of course, when you close the pool cover, it is perfect, because we think that our products adds a value also in the evening when you do your barbecue next to the poolside and the cover is on. It's still a very nice picture. And most of our slats have, for example, transparent end caps, which means when your pool light is on, you see a nice rectangular of pool light coming through. And this is for us the perfect situation. So therefore we say close the pool cover to be perfect.
Yeah. I saw it in a video you have online. It looks very nice when you have barbecue.
Yeah, that's based on that feeling.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And since you do a lot of export, which is, I assume, predominantly EU and some UK, so are there, I guess not, but are there many differences when it comes to the technical requirements in the EU with countries, or is it basically one safety rule one set of regulations that works for all these countries?
No, that's not the case, because in Europe, and I think even in the world, only France is the only country where you have a law, which means that all of each residential pool needs to be safe, and that means you need to have a safety cover or an alarm system or a fence. That's by law the only country where you have this kind of regulation. That means, of course, there's also a French norm where pool covers needs to comply with, for example, or you choose to have a different cover but still put the fence to make sure that at least the pool environment is safe. But that's only in France. We know now that Italy is also going into that direction, and they will just copy-paste the law as it is in France. For the rest, there is no law, but it means, of course, that the requirements in France are a bit different than in most of other countries.
That's interesting, no? Since we are like, let's say, even as a German, no, that we are so also based on safety, And there were accidents before, many actually, with pools. That only France has a law about it, right?
Yeah, it is. On the other hand, I also jumped into this subject, and most of the people now, for example, in the Netherlands, who drown are in a river or a small channel or in the sea. And in the drowning people in your own garden is just not that often the case, because when you have children or grandchildren, as a pool owner, you make sure that there's always someone with them.
You should know that.
Or you have a fence or whatever solution you have. And it's not that you would say as a human being, well, nothing will happen. You can just put your children in the garden. So I think everybody is very cautious. But of course, to have a law on that, I would never say that it's wrong. But even with products which should make it safer, you can always make it. You can have a fence without it's locked, or you can have the pool cover which is not closed, or so it's never 100% safe.
That's
even
true.
when you would have
And the
this.
kids, 15-year-old kids, they can still have the party and be drunk and
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
make a mistake. No,
Yeah. The children, yes. The parents, of course, not.
no, they wouldn't do that. They
Okay.
Yeah, and coming a little bit to the end, do you have like a pool, some kind of a cool pool cover story, like a big project or something?
Yes, we do. And this, we haven't talked about it yet, but for us, a big project, it's not a funny story, but for us, a big project, because of this different requirements in markets, we will launch in the next 4 weeks a new product line, which we call Discover. And that is based on still high end, but I would say just a little bit less, but with a more attractive price and with a limited range of product, and also limited in size. And therefore we can produce this very efficient, like in between, and therefore we can push this product to southern countries where the market prices are much lower. But I still think we have then the best quality on that market with a lower price. And that's what we will bring out in the next few weeks. And we are very excited to do that and see what comes out of it. So let's see.
Sounds very good. And you do have a very short delivery time, no?
Yes, yes, we have a very short delivery time. Normally, also in Europe, depending on how fast the transportation goes, we produce normally within 10 days or 2 weeks as a maximum. So it could be everywhere in Europe within 2 weeks.
Well, I see that as a real advantage, because the homeowner can make a last-minute decision before he didn't want to have a pool cover because of the money. And then if the last minute he decides, and let's have a pool cover, then it goes relatively fast.
It's exactly true, but it has even more impact, because when your pool is ready and you have weather where you can swim, the last thing you want is when you heat the pool and that all your heat is done. So when the pool is ready, they also want the cover to be able to reach, swimming, nice water temperature. And for the pool builder, the advantages is mostly the last part of the building and also the last part of the money they get from the pool owner. So the sooner they have the cover, the sooner they completely deliver or end the project and get the last part of the money.
Okay. Well, it has been a fascinating journey to the world of pool covers, I would say. And so thank you very much, Roy, for having us. I think it's a very interesting topic.
Yeah. And I asked you today, what have you learned?
What have I learned? Well, first of all, more about energy saving than I ever thought it was, and the move from external motors to tube motors. I didn't realize it was that integrated already, which is an amazing technologically. As you know, I'm a technician.
Yeah.
So that fascinated me the most, and how much you can automate in a production process. Really well done, I must say. That is the number of covers produced with relatively speaking so few people.
Yeah,
amazes me.
Yeah.
Compared to making countercurrents, where we need a lot of people in comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was a pleasure to give you this information and to do a little bit of a game on words. I think we covered everything now in this podcast.
Yes, we did. And yeah, great stuff.
Yes. Thank you, Roy, to having us here. And
Thank you.
Yeah.
You can write us with any comments or questions at mail@swimmingpool-podcast.com.
Goodbye.
Danke.
Gracias.
Merci.
Xie.
Dankjewel.
Spasiba.
Swimming Pool International, the Swimming Pool Podcast.